Radio Network.
Yeah, Machado laces it in the air to deep left. This one gonna go!
Coming up, we'll recap the last Padres game, preview today's starting pitching matchup, give you our keys to the game. Plus, we'll hear from manager Craig Stammen. From the Padres Radio Network, here's Sam Levitt.
San Diego Padres baseball coming up on 97.3 The Fan and the Padres Radio Network. As today the Padres take on the Chicago White Sox in the second game of a three-game series. Our starting pitching matchup tonight for the White Sox, right-hander Sean Burke, and for the Padres, right-hander Michael King. Hi, good everyone. Sam Levitt with you from inside the loft here at the Western Metal Building at Petco Park. First pitch coming up at 5:40 p.m. as we get ready for what should be a fun Saturday evening here in downtown San Diego. Coming up in the next 50 minutes, we have a lot to do. You'll hear from Padres manager Craig Stammen. I go one-on-one with White Sox manager and former Padre outfielder Will Venable. Really good conversation with Will coming up a little bit later. We have our keys to tonight's game, a full breakdown of tonight's starting pitching matchup, and in just a little bit, we check in with Padres radio voice Jesse Agler. But first, it's time to set the table, brought to you by Fraser Farms Market. Set your table with the highest quality of natural and organic products from Fraser Farms Market, a San Diego original since 1971 with 3 locations, La Mesa Vista and Oceanside, and at FraserFarmsMarket.com. Padres enter today 19-12. They're in the midst of a bit of a rough stretch. Padres have lost 3 in a row in 4 of their past 5 games. Meanwhile, the White Sox are 15-17 coming in. They're playing very good baseball right now. They've won 4 in a row. And to give you an idea of how much better this White Sox team is already than last year's team, last year they didn't win their 15th game of the season until May 20th, when they were already 19 games of under 500. So this is a much improved Chicago White Sox team, and we'll continue to break down their lineup and their roster throughout our pregame coverage. We had the series opener here at Petco Park last night on a Friday. Let's rewind.
Did you miss what happened in the last Padres game? Let's take a look back with our Padres Rewind on the Padres Radio Network.
We had a scoreless game in the top of the second last night. White Sox would get 3 runs against German Marquez to take a 3-0 lead. He also walked 3 batters in that second inning in the process, but unfortunately, that wasn't the biggest swing of the inning. That belonged to the White Sox, Munetaka Murakami.
So now the full count. Romo runs from first. The payoff pitch. Murakami hits it in the air very deep to right center field. This one way back and gone. His major league leading 13th of the season. A 3-run homer here in the second, and the White Sox now lead it 6-0.
Marquez would give up 6 runs in that second inning. He would end up going 5 innings, allowing 7 runs. He gave up a solo shot to Colson Montgomery in the 5th. Meanwhile, the lefty Noah Schultz, making just his 4th career start, rookie left-hander, went 6 scoreless innings, allowed just the 2 hits. Wandy Peralta pitched 2 scoreless innings to keep it 7-0. Ron Marinaccio gave up a run in the 8th inning as the White Sox took an 8-0 lead. Padres did make a little noise in the bottom of the 8th inning against White Sox reliever Oswaldo Bido. There were 2 on and 2 out for Miguel Andujar.
On the corners for Andujar, bangs one on the ground up the middle. Diving attempt by Mydroth. It kicks off his glove. Trickles into shallow left field, and Bryce Johnson will score the first Padre run of the night. Padres are on the board in the bottom of the 8th inning. It's 8-1.
Padres weren't done. Manny Machado was next.
Here it is on 2-2. Machado swings, lines it into left field. That's a base hit. Fernando's racing around third. He'll score without a play. Padres get another here in the 8th, and it's 8-2.
But that was all the Padres made, noise the Padres made last night. Final score yesterday in the series opener, the White Sox 8 and the Padres 2. As I said, the White Sox playing very good baseball right now. Not only their 4th win in a row, but they've also won 9 of their past 13 games. And today we'll see if the Padres can bounce back with right-hander Michael King on the mound. As always, if you want to get involved on our pregame coverage, you can do that in a variety of ways. You can find me on X at Sam Sammy Lev, SammyLev. Instagram DMs open as well. Sammy Lev there too. You can also find us on the 97.3 The Fan YouTube stream. Let me know who you are, where you're tuned in from, and if you have a key to tonight's game, let me know what it is, and I may just read your key to the game live here on the air. As we get ready for first pitch coming up at 5:40, let's go inside the Jerry Coleman Broadcast Center.
Let's take a trip up to the Padres broadcast booth for a deep dive on today's matchup with Jesse Agler in our Padres game preview on the Padres Radio Network.
Well, Jesse, certainly we saw last night what I think a lot of people in Chicago are saying right now, and this is certainly a different White Sox team than what they've been the last couple of years, maybe a little bit similar to our conversation a couple of weeks ago about the Colorado Rockies. But, Jesse, this is a team that has some real young talent. They've got a slugger in Murakami who is doing historic things. He's been incredible. And this is a team that appears to be on the rise. We saw it last night, certainly.
No doubt about it, and I'm glad you brought up the Rockies. I'll throw the Pirates in that, bucket as well. And I think Tony put it perfectly last night. We were kind of talking about this, and unfortunately, the way that game went last night, we had plenty of time to have conversations throughout the evening. It seems like in baseball this year, the floor has been raised significantly.
Yeah.
The quote-unquote bad teams are just a lot better this year than they were last year and the year before. You had the Rockies and the White Sox the last couple of seasons were kind of historically bad. You saw some real sort of feeble teams the last couple of years in Major League Baseball. As you kind of went through the season and you saw the bad teams, they played a really, really bad brand of baseball. And I'm not saying the White Sox are bad, by the way. They're coming in 15-17.
Yeah.
They've won 4 straight games. But, sort of the teams that we've seen this year that are not necessarily contenders, they've been very capable baseball teams. And it's great for the game, by the way. It makes it harder on the Padres and every other team. But I think, what we're seeing this year is that, at least from the teams we have seen, that maybe you didn't expect to be particularly great teams this year, the floor does appear to be higher, at least early on in 2026. And I think that makes for a lot better baseball.
Yeah, totally agree. And I think it's a good point you make, not just on the White Sox, but around the majors and that floor being higher. It certainly feels that way in the early part of this season. On the mound for the Padres today, right-hander Michael King. A lot of moving parts right now with this rotation, Jesse. Right now, the Padres starter for tomorrow is TBD. Some rumblings. It could be Griffin Canning making his Padres debut tomorrow. We'll see if that ends up being the case. But even with some of the moving parts and some of the up and down with the rotation so far, Jesse, a really good thing for the Padres the first month plus of the season is that Michael King has looked like Michael King, and he's been very, very good.
Yeah, the game last Sunday in Mexico City in particular was very encouraging because maybe for the first time since his opening performance against the Tigers at the very beginning of the year looked like the guy that we saw a couple of years ago, who was just in complete command of basically all of his pitches, had that two-seamer kind of running towards the inside corner against the left-handed hitters, had that changeup just dying away from those guys, was able to spot the four-seamer up and away when he wanted to. It was fun to watch. When he's on, his stuff is just so devastating to guys that it's as good as it gets as far as I'm concerned in baseball. Season high 8 strikeouts his last time out. He can be just so good. And look, I think that, when this season began and we all talked about, what the expectations were for the Padres this year, what the goals were, what the hopes and dreams were for the 2026 Padres, all of those things were predicated on Michael King being Michael King. So not only is it fun to watch Michael King looking like himself, but I think it's critical for the success of his team for Michael King to be Michael King.
Let's touch on Jackson Merrill before I let you go. Jackson getting the day off yesterday against the left-hander Noah Schultz, back in there today playing center field and batting third against the right-hander Sean Burke on the mound for the White Sox. Obviously, Jesse, it's been a bit of an up and down first month of the season for Jackson. Certainly the batting average is lower than I'm sure where he would want it. Your take on Jackson's first month of the season as he moves into May?
Yeah, it's been a tough month, obviously, but I could say the same thing here about Fernando, Manny, whoever you want to say. I'm just so impressed with the lack of pressing, the lack of frustration. Cronenworth, I'll throw in there also. That I'm seeing now. Look, I am sure behind the scenes there is frustration. I know for a fact behind the scenes there's a lot of extra work being put in, but it's not changing the approach. I'm not seeing pressing at the plate. I'm not seeing desperation at the plate. I'm not seeing, a guy up there who doesn't look like himself when he's taking at bats because he's 4 for his last whatever, right? And I think that's the most important thing. And that is a real maturity for all of these guys who have slumped at different points this year. It is so easy. Any one of them will tell you. Tony's talked about this. The guys on the field now will talk about this. So easy when you're slumping, when you're struggling, when the numbers aren't where you want them to be, to get outside of yourself, to not be the guy who you are. And we just haven't seen that from them this year. And that has been, I think, a big part of why Padres are 7 games above 500, even with the numbers looking the way they do for so many of their core contributors. Now, look, obviously, another part of it is that you've gotten the great contributions from Bogarts and Laureano and Andujar and Camposano and the others who have had great years so far. But the fact that they've been able to win as many games as they have with the lack of contributions maybe from some of those key guys is because those key guys have not let this thing spiral away, even though they haven't performed up to the expectation.
Jesse, well said. Good insight as always. Jackson back in the lineup today. Jake Cronenworth also back in the lineup today. A couple of left-handers against the right-handed starting pitcher. Appreciate the time. We'll talk to you and Tony coming up at 5:30. Thanks so much.
You got it, Sammy.
All right, Jesse Ackler joining us on our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show here on the Padres Radio Network as we get ready for today's game. First pitch coming up at 5:40 for game 2 of this 3-game series. When we come back, we hear from Padres manager Craig Stammen. A little bit later, I go one-on-one with former San Diego Padre outfielder, longtime San Diego Padre outfielder, and now White Sox skipper Will Venable. We have our keys to today's game, full look at the out-of-town scoreboard, and much, much more as we walk you up towards first pitch on what should be a fun Saturday evening here in downtown San Diego. You're listening to the Padres Radio Network.
You're listening to the Eco.
Our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside the loft here at the Western Metal Building at Petco Park as we get ready for first pitch coming up at 5:40. Game 2 of this 3-game series between the Padres and the White Sox. Right-hander Michael King on the mound for the Padres today. Right-hander Sean Burke on the mound for Chicago. We'll hear from Padres manager Craig Stammen in just a little bit. In a little while, I go one-on-one with former Padres outfielder and current White Sox manager Will Venable. Really good conversation with Venable coming up a little bit later in our pregame coverage. Well, there was some big news earlier today as far as the Padres sale. Obviously, a lot of reporting the last month or so on who the Padres were getting sold to and that process. But it did become official this morning. I'll read a statement from the Padres this morning. The San Diego Padres today announced that the Seidler family has entered into a definitive agreement for the transfer of control of the franchise to a new ownership group led by investors and philanthropic leaders Kwanzaa Jones and Jose E. Feliciano, subject to approval by Major League Baseball and customary closing conditions. In a joint statement, Jones and Feliciano said, quote, "The Padres are more than a baseball team. They are a unifying force in San Diego, rooted in community, connection, and belonging. As life and business partners and as a family, we are honored to lead this next chapter together. We have worked hard for everything we have achieved, and we have built it together. We see that same spirit in this team and its fans, and we know what it takes to win. We are committed to showing up, listening, and earning the trust of this community while building on the strong foundation established by the Seidler family. This is about more than baseball. It's about boosting the pride, energy, and connection that define the Padres, investing in community, deepening belonging, and ensuring this team remains accessible and endures for generations. We are all in with the goal of bringing a World Series championship to San Diego," end quote. Really nice statement there from Kwanzaa Jones and Jose E. Feliciano. That was big news earlier today. The Padres making that official, that the Seidler family is selling, transferring control of the franchise to that new ownership group led by Kwanzaa Jones and Jose E. Feliciano. And, of course, that will usher in a new era of Padres baseball here in San Diego. With that in mind, and also before we hear from Craig Stammen, I also do want to mention, you'll hear Craig say here that tomorrow's starting pitcher is TBD. Now, there have been some rumblings. Dennis Lynn of The Athletic reporting today that the Padres are considering having Griffin Canning make his Padres debut tomorrow. So you're going to hear about that as well. Just wanted to set up that context as we now hear from the Padres skipper before Game 2 of this 3-game series.
Let's pull up a seat in the manager's office and hear from Padres skipper Craig Stammen. Served up by Sinley Food. If you've had better chicken, you must be a rooster.
We'll start off with the new ownership announcement today. What's your level of excitement for the new era of Padres baseball that's to come?
Yeah, it's exciting to kind of move past this, the team being sold and not, being in limbo, what's going on. Obviously, the Seidlers have been great to me here with the Padres. They've ran this team really well, and now we're moving on to new ownership. Should be very exciting. I know they're excited to, buy the team, obviously, and, they're going to help us win a World Series.
Jackson Merrill back in the lineup today, got a day off yesterday. What do you see as being the value of giving these everyday guys days off at this point in this season, just given the grind and I guess even the road trip and everything that they went through with elevation and everything?
Yeah, I think, hopefully in the end it makes them fresher for the end of the season, and that they're playing consistent baseball from day 1 to day 162, which is the hardest thing to do. But in Jackson's, specific case, he's a young guy. He can probably play every game if he wanted to. We feel like this is the best way to keep these guys fresh through an entire season, help hopefully prevent injury. That's an impossible task to try to accomplish, but we think this is the best way to do it. And I think also it's like strategic with matchups too. Probably wasn't the greatest matchup yesterday for left-handed hitter. Not to say Jackson can, handle that guy really well, but those are the kind of the days you're looking for when you want to give a day off.
Do you see those days off as being more of mental resets or physical resets, or is it kind of dependent on the guy in this situation?
I think mentally these guys are all very tough. I mean, we've showed that throughout the season, how competitive and tough we are, even in late game situations when we're down. So I feel like mentally these guys are pretty locked in. To me, it's more physical, just a breather and go get off the legs for a day and then get back after it.
Luis Campusano is one of your most consistent hitters in the month of April. I'm sure getting that double in Boston probably maybe a bit of a reset for him. What did you see from him throughout the month?
Yeah, we saw the Campy that we've, a lot of us knew was in there, and we've got to see it in the big leagues for one of the first times. And he's had some success in the big leagues, but, giving him the opportunity, I think, is the biggest thing. He got the opportunity, and then he's ran with it. All the credit goes for him for all the hard work he's put in and just the attitude he has on a daily basis.
What do you think it took for him to unlock that at this level? I mean, he was one of the best hitters in AAA last year, but for him to be able to find that here, what do you think it took?
I think one is he went down and, didn't pout. He did what he was supposed to do and showed him hey, I'm a big leaguer. And that gives you a lot of confidence that when you bet on yourself and things go well, that you can do it. And then we had a lot of people in this organization that also believed in him, and we tried to show him that belief. And I think that combination of those two things allowed him to play a little bit freer. And I think also credit to him, personally, he's probably done a lot of things in his life, to put him in a situation to play with freedom and to be able to go out there and, just play without any worries.
Anything specific you want to see from him moving forward to build off of the month that he had last month?
No, I think if he shows up with the same attitude every single day that he's shown since I've known him and since the beginning of spring training, he's going to be in a great spot. It may not always equate to a bunch of hits on the field, but what we're seeing from him behind the plate is, a lot of good growth.
So what with Tatis, he's hitting the ball hard. He had a great game last night, but he's not elevating and getting his home runs. Even he's a little bit kind of concerned about it. What do you think is the issue, if any?
I don't think there's any issue with Fernando Tatis Jr. He's a leader for our team. He makes plays all over the place, even when he's not hitting the ball in the air exactly how he wants to. And this game's not easy. The pitchers are all trying to get him to hit it on the ground. And, he's still batting .270, I think it is, which is pretty impressive when you're not hot and you're batting .270.
Craig, you guys are mixing up the rotation, it seems. Randy's out there throwing, so what are you going to do?
What are we going to do?
Yeah, with the rotation.
Well, we have a few guys coming off the IL, so they'll be slotted in the rotation at some point. All that stuff is TBD. We'll see how that goes here in the future.
Who's starting tomorrow?
TBD.
When Griffin Canning comes off the IL and does get a chance with the San Diego Padres, what are your expectations from him?
Yeah, he's going to be great. I think he's excited to, get past that Achilles injury. He's put in a ton of work, a lot of hard work. You guys saw it all through spring training, and now he's had a bunch of rehab starts. So, whenever his next outing is, it's going to be exciting. It's going to be here in the big leagues, and we're looking forward to it.
What about Giolito? Where's he stand at this point?
Yeah, Lucas has had 2 rehab starts. This is probably, I think we talked about this with Griffin a while back, but middle of March for him in spring training. He says he feels good in some outings or some innings, and then other innings he's like, what the heck's going on? And that's typical of the spring training starting pitchers. It's just not all consistently put together in an outing. So he's got a few more, and then we're looking forward to having him back here and help us, win some games.
Is it tough in your experience for pitchers to miss spring training and then catch up like this?
I personally don't really know anybody that's had to do it, but I've seen people from afar have to do it. And it's tougher. It's just mentally, you're worried about where you're going to play and who you're playing for. And then all of a sudden you're on a team and they want you to be there quickly and you want to be there quickly. And the season's going on while you're trying to get ready. So it just kind of speeds things up. So we're trying to slow him down and make sure that he's ready when he gets here.
Will Lucas make another start with the Storm or keep starting with the Storm, or is he going to go up to a different level?
I think eventually he's going to get up to another level, whether that's the next start or the start following.
That was Padres manager Craig Stammen earlier today here at Petco Park as we get ready for first pitch coming up at 5:40. Game 2 of this 3-game series between the Padres and White Sox. We'll hear more from Craig Stammen coming up later on this evening on our post-game coverage. Let's quickly pause for station identification on the Padres radio network.
KWFN and KWFN HD1 San Diego.
Hey, this is Manny Machado from the San Diego Padres. You're listening to Padres Baseball on Padres Radio Network.
An Odyssey Sports Station.
Sam Levitt with you here inside the Western Metal Building at Petco Park. First pitch coming up at 5:40 on what is a beautiful early evening here in downtown San Diego. Padres lineup tonight looks like this. Ramon Laureano in left field leading off. Fernando Tatis Jr. in right field batting second. Jackson Merrill back in the lineup after a day off yesterday playing center batting third. Manny Machado at third base batting cleanup. Xander Bogaerts at shortstop batting fifth. Gavin Sheets at first base batting sixth. Miguel Andujar, the DH today, batting seventh. Luis Campusano doing the catching and batting eighth. And Jake Cronenworth at second base batting ninth with right-hander Michael King on the mound. Speaking of the Padres lineup, let's tell you who's hot, who's not.
Which player is locked in at the dish? Who needs to step up their game? This is Who's Hot, Who's Not. Presented by ASAP Drain Guys and Plumbing, a division of Anderson Commercial, your full-service plumber serving San Diego County.
Who's hot, who's not? Let's begin with a guy in the hot category. We'll put Luis Campusano in that category today. Since the beginning of April, Campy is batting .366 in 41 at-bats, 3 home runs, 7 doubles, and 10 RBIs. A couple of guys in the not category. Jake Cronenworth is just 5 for his last 37. He's batting, or I should say his batting average is down to 146 on the season, an OPS of 478 on the year as he continues to get off to a pretty tough start here in 2026. Jackson Merrill also slumping right now. His past 11 games, Jackson is just 4 for 42. That's a .095 average in that span. He struck out 18 times in those 42 at-bats. And that's a look at who's hot, who's not, as we get ready for game 2 of this 3-game series. We'll see if the couple of slumping left-handed batters, Cronenworth and Merrill, can get it going here tonight against right-hander Sean Burke on the mound for the White Sox. Let's take a look at some headlines from around the major leagues as we go around the horn.
Let's examine the most important news and the latest information you need to know in the world of Major League Baseball. Sam Levitt takes you around the horn. Presented by Valley View Casino and Hotel. Get ready for Major League winning when you join Valley View Casino and Hotel's Players Club and receive over $200 in free instant offers. Visit valleyviewcasino.com to learn more today.
The New York Mets and former Padres catcher Luis Torrens are in agreement on a 2-year, $11.5 million contract extension through the 2028 season. Trey Gibson, a 23-year-old right-hander ranked as the Baltimore Orioles' number 3 prospect, will be brought up tomorrow to start against the Yankees in what will be his major league debut. The Blue Jays' George Springer left today's game against the Twins in the 3rd inning after being hit by a pitch on the left foot. This comes just 4 days after the 4-time All-Star came off the 10-day IL after fouling off a pitch and breaking his left big toe on April 11th in another game against the Twins. So some bad luck there for George Springer and the Toronto Blue Jays. Phillies activating catcher JT Realmuto from the injured list earlier today. He had been sidelined since April 22nd because of back spasms. And we told you yesterday that Brewers right-hander Jacob Misiorowski left a no-hit bid through 5 1/3 innings with a hamstring cramp. Brewers manager Pat Murphy said today that the Brewers think Misiorowski will be fine and avoided serious injury, but unfortunate had to come out of that no-hit bid yesterday in the 6th inning because of that hamstring cramp. And that's a look at some of the headlines from today around the major leagues. We'll have a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard coming up a little bit later on. When we come back, a lot to do still. Our keys to today's game, that full look at the out-of-town scoreboard. Plus, I go one-on-one with White Sox manager and former Padres outfielder Will Venable. That all comes your way after this on the Padres Radio Network.
Hello, friends. It's Woodsy.
EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside the loft here at the Western Metal Building at Petco Park. First pitch coming up at 5:40 for Game 2 of this 3-game series between the Padres and White Sox. Our pregame coverage is always brought to you by EcoWater SoCal, keeping it soft since 1925. Visit EcoWaterSoCal.com or call 760-350-3338. That's 760-350-3338. I go one-on-one with current White Sox manager and longtime former Padre Will Venable in just a couple of minutes, so stay tuned for that. But first, let's give you today's injury report.
Who's in, who's out? This is the Bada Fulkerson Injury Report, presented by San Diego's Bulldog Injury Attorneys, who hope you're never in an accident. But if you are, make Bada Fulkerson the first call you make. Hit them up 24/7 at badafulkerson.com.
Well, let's begin with a quick look at the Chicago White Sox. We mentioned some of these injuries yesterday right now impacting their major league club. The White Sox without outfielder Everson Pereira right now. He's dealing with a right pectoral strain. They're without a young, promising catcher, Kyle Teal. He's been on the IL since before the season started with a right hamstring strain. They're also without right-handed pitcher Jonathan Cannon, who's on the IL right now with right hip irritation. As far as the Padres, the thing to watch right now on the injury front, Griffin Canning, and this is not necessarily who's in, who's out right now, but very important right now because Griffin Canning has been working his way back, going back to spring training from that Achilles tear that he suffered last season with the New York Mets. Canning has made 4 rehab starts so far, and there have been rumblings, including some reporting today from Dennis Lynn of The Athletic, that Canning could make his return tomorrow. Here was Dennis tweeting earlier today. The tweet from Dennis Lynn of The Athletic, Padres beat reporter. Dennis tweeting, "The Padres are leaning towards activating Griffin Canning for his debut tomorrow, though the final call could depend on the availability of other pitchers." Canning went 5 innings, 68 pitches on Tuesday in a rehab start. Sunday would mark 30 days since he began his rehab assignment. And as you heard earlier from Craig Stammen, he called tomorrow's starting pitcher TBD. So do with that what you will. They're not confirming Griffin Canning will start tomorrow, but it certainly sounds, based on the reporting by Dennis, and by all of a sudden it being TBD for tomorrow, like there's a possibility it could be Griffin Canning tomorrow. So keep an eye on all of that, and that's a look at our injury report as we get ready for today's game. Let's take a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard.
Let's take a trip around the bigs to highlight the scores that matter most with our out-of-town scoreboard. Presented by Jensen Premium Beef Patties. Always a hit for grilling.
We take a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard. By the way, I've got a couple of fans in front of me. Are you filming on the glasses? Yeah, there we go. I like it. All right. Yeah, send it to me. Send me that footage. I want to see that. All right. I've been thinking about getting a pair of meta glasses of my own. Should I? Okay. All right. I'm going to think about it. All right. We'll see. Thank you for saying hello. I appreciate it. All right, a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard on this Saturday. Marlins beat the Phillies today 4-0 in Miami. Astros beat the Red Sox 6-3 at Fenway. Guardians beat the A's 14-6 in Sacramento. Brewers beat the Nationals 4-1 in D.C. Pirates beat up on the Reds 17-7 in Pittsburgh. The Cubs beat the Diamondbacks 2-0 in Chicago. Blue Jays over the Twins 11-4 in Minnesota. Yankees beat the Orioles today 9-4 in New York. Games going on right now. Rays 4, Giants 1 in Tampa Bay in the 7th inning. Tigers 5, Rangers 1 in Detroit in the 4th. Cardinals lead the Dodgers in St. Louis 3-0 in the 3rd. Braves lead the Rockies 2-0 in Colorado in the 1st inning. And a couple of games yet to begin aside from this one. Mets and the Angels in Anaheim at 6:38. The Royals and Mariners in Seattle at 6:40. And that is a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard on this Saturday. We'll have much more on all those games coming up a little bit later on during our post-game coverage. Well, Will Venable, the longtime Padres outfielder, spent 2008 to 2015 in San Diego. He a longtime Padre, really good Padre. I would say a fan favorite here in San Diego, certainly now in his second season as White Sox manager. I caught up with Will Venable inside the White Sox dugout. Have a listen. Sam Levitt here on the Padres Radio Network as we get ready for today's game. And right now I'm joined by White Sox manager and former longtime San Diego Padre, Will Venable. Will, great to see you here back in San Diego. This is the building where you made your major league debut, where you spent so many years. What are the emotions, the memories when you come back into Petco Park?
Yeah, it's exciting. You know, this is the organization where I got an opportunity. You know, obviously came from the minor league system after being drafted by them, made my debut here and really spent 95% of my career here. So it's a special place. It's a special city, special ballpark, special fans. So it's always exciting to come back.
Late August 2008, you make your major league debut. First at bat, a triple. What do you remember about that day?
Yeah, it was a crazy day. What I remember most is going into that day, the scouting report was that Aaron Cook threw like 98% sinkers, and he threw 2 sliders to start me off. So that was always a shock as far as getting onboarded into the scouting world, but really more than anything, just being out on the field, and how beautiful this playing surface is, how beautiful this ballpark was, and just being in front of the fans.
Bud Black was your manager when you were with the Padres. He's now back with the Padres in a front office role during spring training. Saw him around a ton. Got a chance to talk to him. He's such a great baseball man. What was your experience like playing for Buddy?
Buddy was awesome, and again, the manager that I had in most of my big league career, and feel so lucky to have had him. Number one, he's just a great guy to be around, really a mentor, someone that you really looked up to. And it was almost like, you didn't want to let Buddy down like he was your dad almost, but that's how he went about building his relationships. And he was just so kind and thoughtful. And he was just a really smart baseball guy too. He knew how to get the best out of the guys. He knew how to create an environment where we felt comfortable, where we come to work every day, and also to play extremely hard. So I learned a ton from Buddy.
Now that you're in that manager seat with the ball club, do you look back on your time playing under a guy like Bud Black, or are there any other managers, coaches that you played for that you think have influenced you now as you're a manager?
Yeah, they've all influenced me, and certainly Buddy probably more than anybody, but, being around Dave Roberts, Jeff Bannister in Texas, the managers that I've coached for, Alex Cora and Bruce Bochy, you learn something from all these guys, and, you try it and take a little something from each one of them. And at the same time, you have to, build your own approach to going about how you want to manage, but certainly impacted by all these guys and no one more than Buddy Black.
Well, Padres baseball has certainly changed since you played in a variety of ways, whether you want to talk about payroll, maybe expectations even, and certainly the ballpark itself. I mean, this place is sold out or pretty close to it every night. From your perspective, how do you view the way that Padres baseball has changed and really the experience here at Petco Park has changed?
Yeah, well, it's awesome to see, and I think about the fans, and certainly as we were grinding through it in my career here, and just always felt like we wanted to give them more. And so I'm just so happy for them that they get that, right? And that this is an amazing ballpark, which it always has been. But the environment that AJ Preller and his group have created around this ballpark is amazing. The product on the field that they're throwing out there, you got superstars all over the place. It's really just nice to see because the fans deserve it.
And I do want to mention, of course, you were part of the 2010 team that did win 90 games. From that year in particular, 2010, I think a memorable team here in San Diego. How do you remember that group in particular?
Yeah, it was an awesome group. Really the only time until I got traded to the Rangers that I was on a winning club. And, right there, we were in control and just kind of lost it there down the stretch and missed the playoffs. But it was a special group. It was special to give the fans some exciting baseball and some winning baseball. Unfortunately, it didn't work out as far as making it to the playoffs, but definitely a special year.
You have a guy in your coaching staff, in Kristen Orfia, who also you played with here in San Diego, a guy that Padres fans know well. Why was Chris a good fit for your coaching staff, and what's it like to share this experience now with him?
Yeah, number one, you want to have someone in that role as a field coordinator doing some of the stuff that he's doing that you just trust to execute. And, being a teammate with Dean Dino and a good friend with Dino for all these years. We know that, if I ask him to do something, he's gonna execute it. And he's also just really good at the details. And there's so many details that need to be covered on a major league staff. And he's taking a real load on and making sure that all these details are covered. He's doing a great job.
Finally, to ask you about your ball club, you have a young team, but you have played some good baseball in the early part of this season. How do you assess your early part of the year, first month or so?
Yeah, it's been good. Every day there's things that pop up that we know, are reminders of the things that we need to work on. And we have a really good process for evaluating those things and attacking the solutions to fix them. I'm most proud of the energy that our group brings on a daily basis. And it starts in the clubhouse, the way these guys are connected. You'll see it pregame, and then you'll see it on the field. So, record is what the record is.
Yeah.
We've gotten some positive results here lately, but just really proud of the effort and energy.
Will, really appreciate the time. Welcome back to San Diego, and we'll talk to you again down the road. Thanks so much.
All right, thanks so much.
How will the Padres unlock a win today? These are the keys to the game. Presented by Rock and Block Turf and Hardscapes. Beautiful artificial turf that stays green all year long. Trust and experience. The job isn't done until it's done right. See them at rockandblocklandscape.com.
Key number 1, no more Murakami magic. The White Sox, Munetaka Murakami, is making the majors look easy. He blasted his league-leading 13th home run of the season last night against the Padres. The 26-year-old Japanese slugger, who signed a 2-year, $34 million deal in December. He's already passed Aaron Judge and Yordan Alvarez for the MLB home run lead. He has 9 home runs in his last 16 games. You have got to try your best if you're the Padres here tonight and tomorrow to keep this guy in the ballpark. That's key number 1. Key number 2, no moonshots for Montgomery. I'm talking about White Sox shortstop Colson Montgomery. Hit his 9th home run of the season last night. He's batting .320 with 6 home runs and 13 RBIs in his last 13 games. Key number 3, turn up the offense. The Padres have lost 3 in a row, and one reason why is their offense is not producing a ton. The Padres have scored just 9 runs total in the last 3 games. For context, before this 3-game skid, the Padres had won 17 of 21 games. They had been averaging more than 5 runs per game in that span. So the Padres got to get the offense cooking a little bit more here tonight. And that's a look at our keys to today's game. When we come back, we tell you what to watch for in today's game, and we get you ready to go for Game 2 of this 3-game series between the Padres and White Sox on the Padres Radio Network.
We'll be right back to
EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues on the Padres Radio Network. Let's tell you what to watch for.
What's the one thing Sam Levitt will be keeping his eye on in today's game? This is What to Watch For. Presented by Genesis Home Improvements, San Diego's trusted painting, roofing, and window company. Save 15% today on a new beginning for your home. Visit GenesisHomeImprovements.com.
What to watch for in today's game? How about what kind of start the Padres get from Michael King, making his 7th start of the season. His 2.41 ERA is 4th best among all National League qualifiers. He pitched last Saturday in Mexico City, gave up 2 runs in 6 innings with a season-high 8 strikeouts. A very good start at the altitude in Mexico City. Now back at sea level here tonight in Game 2 of this 3-game series against the Chicago White Sox. As always, thank you for listening to the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show here on 97.3 The Fan and the Padres Radio Network. When we come back, Jesse and Tony have you covered. They have the full starting lineups, first pitch, and all the play-by-play on the Padres Radio Network.